Hello, everybody. This is Sheniynah Richardson of SheRich Educational Consulting here with my blog, Inclusive and Diversified Classroom Management 101. This is blog number 8, How to Equitably Interpret IEPs or ILPs. Now, in this first part of this blog, I'm going to tell you a compelling, heartfelt story about one of my students who had disabilities but was able to overcome all her obstacles and challenges to make a 93 in my English class. And part 2, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you about the takeaways and the lessons learned in regards to this experience. So, here's the storyline. So, I had a student by the name of T. Now, T had been on homebound because she had had surgeries and different things going on that prevented her from going to school on a regular basis. So she entered school late, and when she came in, her mother had scheduled a TST meeting. TST stands for Teacher Support Team Meeting, and she wanted to make it clear to all her daughter's teachers that she wanted her child to attend classes for credit, and she wanted her to be on the graduation track and not an audited track. Now, to make the challenge even more difficult, T had been socially promoted. So there were 3 grade levels that she had not completed on her own. She was socially promoted. And so it was a bit controversial to the teacher support team. However, I didn't run from the challenge, and after the plan of action was made for T and her behavior plans were put in place and her academic plans were put in place, I met with her mother outside of the conference room, and I said, you know what? I really admire and respect the fact that you wanted your daughter to graduate school. Now, on top of some intellectual disabilities, T had physical disabilities. She had trouble with her spine, for one, and her speech was incoherent, and she suffered from all a host of different elements. So it wasn't just intellectual, it was physical disabilities that she suffered from as well. So with that being said, when T came to my classroom, of course, I was aware that she was socially promoted, and I was also aware of her struggles. But I wanted to get to know who she was as a person and to see what she was capable of doing. I had more than just T in my classroom that had an IEP. In a class size of like 30, I would have about 12 to 15 students that also had accommodations. However, I never lowered the expectation for any of my students. Now, I caught a lot of backlash from my colleagues saying, Miss Richardson, you just mean, you know those kids can't do that work. You're being insensitive to their learning challenges, or you're, not factoring in that they need extra help. And of course, I did factor it in, but I wanted to push them to be the best that they could be. So when we had projects and essays and other assignments going on, I never exempt them from doing it. Because my philosophy was, if you put something on paper, if I could see what you can do, then I know how to push you to the next level and make sure that you meet the full standard. Because I can't tell you how much every day I used to just tell my kids, hey, the way this world is, honey, no matter what your background is, no matter what your limitations are, no matter what your disability or your hang-ups, you are expected to perform. No one wants to hear the world's smallest violin playing a sad tune for you. You're just going to be expected to perform. And so, with that being said, I always challenge them to be the best that they could be and do what they could do. And I would keep coaching them and pushing them until they met standard. And also, another thing about that situation is that all students can learn, but they don't learn at the same rate. So just because, you have 10 people in the classroom that understood the lesson and you got 12 or 15 that didn't get it, it doesn't mean that you stop pushing or you stop teaching that standard. You want to get everybody together, because if it's a standard that is missed, then when you move on to the next challenge or the next objective, then those students are going to struggle even more. So back to T. So T accepted my challenge, but it was only after I got an understanding of who she was and what she liked and what her interests were and her pet peeves, and just building that rapport with her. And she began to write her essays and I coached her along. And after a while, she was like, okay, I don't need your help anymore. And she was basically a perfectionist when it came to her essays. Like, we would be working on rough drafts. And I would say, T, you don't have to make your rough draft look perfect. It's a rough draft, so it's okay that it's a little messy. And she would be like, nah. And I was so amazed that she would rewrite her essay sometimes like 3 or 4 times. Like, she would take it home and rewrite it, make sure it was flawless grammatically, as well as penmanship. She had beautiful handwriting. I could have sworn she was a calligrapher. But she really pushed herself in my classroom, and I was so proud of her, and I was so grateful. So, walk on to the next TST meeting. And in this TST meeting, it was revealed that T was failing all her classes except for mine. And I was the bad guy, assumingly, because I had just promoted T unjustifiably, is what I was accused of doing. So the teacher support team, they were conferencing and they were like, Miss Richardson, we see that T has a 93 in your classroom. How is this? You must have just gave her that grade. I said, no, I didn't give her a grade. I said, she did work and that's what she earned. And they were like, yeah, because that's not fair to all the other students who actually do work. And I'm like, hold up. No, I don't give grades. She did this. And then they were like, well, Miss Richardson, we need to see documentation that supports T's grade. And I said, okay. So I pulled out 5 work samples. I was ready for them because I had already heard the rumors and the speculation about how I was just giving T grades. So I pulled out 5 work samples. 3 were just regular classwork assignments, and 2 of them were essays, handwritten essays that she had done. So the work was being passed around, and everyone was asking, "Who did this, Miss Richardson? Who wrote this? Did you write it?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding? I have 150 some students. I don't have time to write these kids essays for them." I said, "No, she did it." And they were like, wow, this is really good. And so the mother asked to see him, and she started crying, and she was like, oh my god, I didn't know that she was capable of this, or that she knew how to do this. And she asked me, could she keep one of the essays, and I said, sure, you can keep it. And she was so happy. So her mother, she was upset because, again, T was failing all the other classes, and here was evidence that she was capable of doing a lot more. And she said, well, what's wrong with the rest of the classes? And then I was excused out of the meeting. They were like, okay, Miss Richardson, you can go ahead and do whatever. Get out. In so many words. So I felt like it would have been a good time to go across the hall to the workroom and run copies for my lesson plans. And so they re-adjourned for maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. And T's mother was the first to come out. And I heard her ask the secretary at the front desk where I was. And so when I heard her ask, I stuck my head out the workroom. I said, here I am. And she came up to me, T's mother. She grabbed my hands and she was like, thank you. And I'm like, wow. And I said, I'm just doing my job. And she said, no, but thank you though. And she left. So thereafter, the rest of the TST team came out of the conference room, and the head of the TST said, Miss Richardson, you must didn't get the memo. And I'm like, I guess I didn't. What's wrong? And she said, we were setting T up to get on audit track. And now you got her mother thinking that she can actually graduate with a high school diploma. And I'm like, okay, well, it's true. She can do the work. And I'll never forget it. She rolled her eyes and she stomped on and went on about her way. And but no good deed goes unpunished. And I wasn't offended, and I didn't change anything about how I taught kids, because I feel like just because a child has a disability or struggles with something, it does not mean that they're incapable of achieving great things. And I have always pushed my students, no matter what their situation or their circumstance, to be the best that they can. Now, I'm going to stop talking because I don't want to cross over into the lessons learned. So I'm going to put a pause right here, and I'm going to come back with my part 2 and let you know how I have used this experience to just enhance my teaching and just bring a new perspective. So come back for part 2. I'm waiting on you.